What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of My Hero Academia. Last episode is going to be a really hard act to follow, but they start out pretty fresh with some fresh animation, no recaps. Let's get started. So at the start of this episode, we pick up with some new animation, which is actually Eri at UA, which Deku was very surprised by because he wasn't expecting to see her as soon as they did. And she's actually being taken in by UA, specifically under the wing of Aizawa and under the wing of Mirio to take care of her, because the only caregiver she really had, who is actually a caregiver, was of course the leader of the Yakuza, who has been in a coma and now won't be taken out of the coma because of the fact that, well, you know, he's kind of not going to be able to be fixed by Overhaul since Overhaul lost his arms. And as we know with her quirk, as her horn gets bigger, the likelihood of her setting off her quirk gets bigger and bigger, and her quirk, or her horn, is slowly getting bigger after the last time we saw her, though seeing her in little pigtails was just adorable. Anyway, so obviously they can't send her to a place like an orphanage because there's no heroes there, and it would take extra effort to keep heroes on campus of an orphanage to make sure that she isn't setting off her quirk and reversing all the kids back to before they were born. So essentially Mirio is taking on the role of sort of the father figure, I guess, for Eri. And of course we have with that the possibility of him maybe getting his quirk back. We even have Tamaki mention that maybe with Eri becoming more stable and possibly being able to control her quirk, that maybe Mirio will get his abilities back. We don't know. But anyway, after this little discussion, which was the entire opening, no recap animation, all new animation, I love it, we then know that Class 1A is going to have some visitors soon, and we get to find out that it's actually the Pussycats, which is awesome. We haven't seen them in quite a while. Now, once they show up, of course, it's a surprise to everybody, and one of them actually goes to apologize to Bakugo, which shows us how long it's actually been since we've interacted with these characters, because, yeah, we haven't interacted with them since Bakugo was kidnapped for the first time, so it's been a while. But, of course, as we can see from everybody, they're doing just fine. Even Bakugo says, don't go digging up the past, everything's fine now, and it's kind of neat, and we get to see what happened with Ragdoll now that she's lost her abilities. And it's kind of sad because, yeah, it's such a catch-22 with the prospect of getting her quirk back. So it's just, So essentially, she doesn't have her quirk back, and it's possible for All For One to give her quirk back. The problem is he would have to use his quirk, and they don't trust him at all for obvious reasons. And so that's, in all likelihood, not going to happen. Though we do see, and this is freaking awesome, we do see Coda. And it's been a long time since we've seen him as well. And Deku runs up and thanks him for the letter, says, I'll cherish it forever. And Coda's all embarrassed, like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. And of course, it's pointed out that Coda has actually, when he got his shoes, deliberately picked out red because of Deku. I freaking love it. It's so cool to see the impact that Deku's having on these kids and on these people that he's, you know, saving. It's awesome. It really does give you this sense of like the first person you saved or the biggest hero rescue you had to do. It's so cool. It gives you this feeling of progression for Deku. Plus, it's also just cute to see Coda all flustered over the fact that he wanted to match Deku with the red shoes. I love it. All of this, though, is primarily to lead up to the introduction of what we had seen hinted at last episode, which is the Hero Billboard Chart JP, which is the hero basically ranking. And we know that the Pussycat Dolls are Pussycat Dolls. Wrong thing. But we know that they are actually still holding a fairly high up position considering they haven't done anything, because support is a major factor in your vote, in the votes of the people. And so they are still ranked very highly because of the fact that they have a massive amount of support from the people who are waiting for them to come back. Same thing applies with characters like Best Jeanist, who actually is number 3, I believe, in the ranks, because while he's on a full hiatus because of the injuries he sustained with All For One, he is still ranked very high up. Now, during the Hero Billboard Chart JP thing, it was kind of funny because we get introduced to, not really introduced to, we see characters who we are already familiar with, like Kamui Wood, Edgeshot, Endeavor, obviously. Though we have some funny ones. I would love to see Wash. I'd love to see him or her fighting. Like, I don't know what makes them so powerful other than the fact that they're basically a human washing machine. Guess they're just washing up crime. Hooray. Oh yeah, Ryukyu's there too. She did go down a bit, but yeah, we've got a lot of familiar heroes. Now we do get introduced to a few other characters. The two that really sort of held my attention were Mirko, who's like this rabbit girl. I feel like we're probably going to see her more, considering that like she actually seemed to be the most serious of the side characters that we saw on stage there. And then we have Hawks, and he is actually quite an impressive character, though he seems like a bit of a, I don't know, I thought he was a bit of a jerk until he actually like was interacting with people in his hometown, and we saw how his hero work went. We also have Grits, that's another odd character, and the giant samurai dude. So yeah, we got quite a few. But anyway, each of the heroes get a chance to say something, and they're all very humble, except for Hawks, who basically talks about how, because there's no symbol of peace, the popularity portion, the support portion, should be held more in favor than the effectiveness. Like, obviously Endeavor's been the most effective hero. He's closed the most cases and all that, so he's number one. But it's just kind of odd, and that's what made me think that initially Hawks was a bit of a jerk, was because of the fact that he primarily spoke about how, like, Endeavor should be number 4, Best Genius should be number 1, he should be number 2 or 3 or something. Anyway, he went on about that and was very flashy and egotistical, and it was just sort of weird, his character. I don't know. Also, something weird with, just a little side note here with Endeavor, is it almost seemed like his character was 3D animated in certain segments, which I can imagine animating fire like that for Endeavor is difficult, so I'm not going to bash it, but it just seemed kind of weird, especially when, you know, you see characters at a distance and they lose a lot of detail when they're drawn, and Endeavor at a distance still had a ton of detail, which made me think that he was probably 3D animated. We also learned that Hawks is a bit of a hotshot. He's also a very fast climbing hero. He's number 2, and he literally had his own agency basically right out of high school. He was 18 when he had his first agency, and he's 22 now, and he's number 2. So people are saying he's climbing very, very quickly, almost too fast. Which makes me wonder if he was climbing too fast, what was All Might? You know, like, what did All Might do? But whatever. Either way, we also see that Endeavor is not much of a speaker. He says, "Just watch me." So we will be doing that. We will be just watching him and seeing what he does. I'm actually very fascinated to see how he will act in the coming episodes, especially with the way this episode ends. So after the speech and after everything, of course, there's a bit of a, we'll call it an interaction. I would almost call it a more close to a hostile encounter backstage between Hawks and Endeavor. But Hawks wanted to talk to Endeavor about the potential of these rumors going around of a Nomu in his area. And so with those rumors, Endeavor sort of bites, and he goes with Hawks to where Hawks is normally patrolling as a hero. Now this is when we have the introduction of the Nomu called High End. We have Dabi going over and saying hello and saying, you know, you better be, you know, live up to what I expect. And basically, like, it doesn't look like he's going to disappoint, but yeah, we have the introduction of a new Nomu called High End. He looks kind of creepy, and he, at least from what we got, seems to be mildly intelligent, going after or asking who the strongest person was. So yeah, there's also this moment with somebody who was trying to, I guess, attack a building, and his quirk, like, they introduced this whole character arc with him, like this whole little character moment, and he was like basically distraught by society, the same as what we dealt with Gentle, not quite the same. But so the more embarrassed he is, the more he gets, like, the more powerful he gets, the stronger he gets. Of course, he's taken out immediately by Hawks, but we know that there's a book floating around that has been inspiring a lot of that, and it's been reprinted several times. Yeah, so that looks like it could be sort of the next big moment, the next big thing that our heroes are dealing with, and I'm just kind of interested to see what exactly that's going to turn into. We also see what Hawk's ability is, and apparently he can control his feathers. He doesn't just, like, shoot his feathers like he did at the first guy. He can control them to float things, like a suicidal dog that jumped out in front of a bus, or an old lady. He can carry her bag up the stairs for her. It's kind of wild, and he's very fan-friendly, which is funny. Like, he posed for a selfie. He said hi to everybody. He asked some kid's name and signed his backpack for him. He actually, I could see why he would genuinely be very high up there in hero ranking for that reason alone. Of course, then we see people looking at Endeavor, and they're talking about how his presence is just so overbearing and so very like just there's a pressure about him. And because of that feeling, when people kind of were like, you should go say hi, he's like, no, I'm not going to go say hi. That's ridiculous. And so he comes over, Endeavor comes over and says, you don't need to, hold back. Hello. And the person's like, you've changed. And it's just kind of weird. Like, people, I guess, seem to expect Endeavor to be very strict, very, like, coarse as a character. And so with that, he made the effort to try to go over and say hello, but obviously it wasn't very natural. And it also sort of broke his character in a way. Like, he's definitely not a people person. Also, the person was crying blood, which was kind of weird, but anyway. Now, it seems like in the coming episodes, or at least in the next episode, we're going to get a pretty big fight, but there's a lot more that is going to sort of be built upon, especially with the fact that while Hawks and Endeavor are at a restaurant, they're just talking about sort of the connection between the guy that they saw in the street, the book that they were talking about, the book that the guy had read, and the Namu, and the encounters they've had previously with the Namu, how they, obviously, it's something that could potentially be spread countrywide. And with that, it's sort of like, obviously we're coming up to the very end of this season. My guess is that next episode will be the final episode, though I'm not sure because I don't pay attention to scheduling. I just watch them as they come out. But if it's not, awesome. If it is, okay. But I definitely feel like they're building into the next major conflict for the series. And that could very potentially be whatever that book is telling people and whatever that book is inciting in society. And also the fact that now there are Nomu who are very high-end, which actually made me think, because seeing the eyes on the one Nomu, they looked exactly like the eyes on Kurogiri, which makes me wonder if Kurogiri is actually a, like, maybe a, like, luckily perfected Nomu or something like that, because with the high-end character, he definitely is still a Nomu. He's not very smart, or at least he doesn't have much of a personality. Kurogiri still seems to have a personality, so either that's just the way his quirk makes him look and it's a coincidence, or maybe he's got the same eyes because he's maybe a Nomu? That's a stretch, though. My God, I don't think that's the case. Now that I say that, I take that back. That's so stupid. I don't think that's the case. That's a big stretch. But anyway, after the conversation, Hawk sort of goes over what his plans are and how he's going to proceed and why he wants to partner up with Endeavor, which Endeavor was torqued off because they were literally just rumors about the Namu. But good for them, not good for them. The Namu is real, and it shows up, and now Endeavor has to fight it. And that's where the episode ends. Like, oh my God. So that means next episode is going to be a big fight between Endeavor and the Namu, and it looks like it's actually going to be a pretty massive fight, considering that, like, it looked like from the preview the entire top of a building gets cut, like either off or sliced through or something. It looks pretty bad. However, during the preview, we do see a lot of people watching this fight happen, which means that there's coverage of it. People know that Endeavor's the one fighting. That has some pretty big implications. That could mean that the support for Endeavor could go way up, because not only is his family watching, but obviously there's a lot of people watching. We see All Might sort of, I don't know what his deal was. He was kind of holding his side. I don't know if he was like thinking back to when he had to fight a Namu and how hard it was, and if Endeavor can do it or not. I don't know exactly what All Might was going through in that shot, but yeah, there's a lot. And with that potential fight and the possibility of it actually spelling like more support for Endeavor, I'm actually kind of pumped for it. Either way, though, this review's been a little bit shorter than normal, I know, because I normally run almost the entire length of an episode when I talk about it, but I really didn't have a whole lot to say about this episode. It was a good episode. Seeing the JP Billboard chart for Heroes was cool. Getting to see the Pussycats again was great. Seeing Aerie again was awesome, but also building up the fact that there may be an issue with her horn coming back. That's, you know, kind of neat to see. There's a lot of really cool things they did in this episode that I was just all about, but overall, yeah, it was a good follow-up episode. It was nothing close to the perfection of last episode, but it was still great. So, happy to talk about it. Either way, guys, thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope you do enjoy it. I'm really excited for next episode. As I said, I've got a bunch of things planned for this week as well, so hopefully you guys stick around for that. And otherwise, make sure to check out the links in the description. Like, subscribe, the whole 9 yards, and stay inside, stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure to be there, and have a good one. I have shirts. Please buy a shirt if you want to, or a sweatshirt. I'm getting desperate now. I'm just recording stuff whenever I can at the very end of videos because I'm starting to do context-specific endings and I'm running out of ideas. So just go buy it, please. Don't be shirtless like Inosuke. If you want to save some, go SFMH. Put that as the code when you go to buy it and save 10%. Please, just yeah, that's my spiel. See ya.